So what does it mean to be consistent? Being consistent is going out to do the same thing over and over again, no matter how we feel, no matter how the weather is, no matter what's going on in our life. It's essentially getting the job done no matter the circumstance. And why is consistency important? Consistency is massively important because it's going to be the key cornerstone for us to constantly achieve our fitness goals again and again and again. And what I mean by this is that we can all have periods of time, say 2 or 3 months, where we train hard, we eat good, but then we fall off a cliff and we rebound back to our old habits. Whereas though, if we are consistent and we maintain them habits for a long period of time, we're just going to get better and better. Hey, and welcome to my channel, Rambling with Shane. And in this series of videos, I'm talking about the 6 key factors which has helped me lose over 20 kilos in the past 18 months. In the last video, we talked about how good habits have contributed to this. And in this video specifically, we're going to dive into consistency. And consistency has been super important for me, not just losing weight, but more importantly, keeping weight off. And the reason being is we can all have intense periods where we train hard, eat good for a couple of months, but we rebound back to our old habits. Whereas though, when we're consistent and train day in, day out, week in, week out, the weight is not only going to fall off, it's going to stay off. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the 4 key areas which has helped me build consistency over the past couple of years. And they are focusing on one thing at a time, ramping up and ramping down, having goals and milestones, and probably the most important, and that's discipline. So let's get to it and talk about the first area, which is focusing on one thing at a time. When it comes to weight transformations, we as humans have a tendency to overwhelm ourselves, to think about so many things that we need to do. We need to lose weight, we need to eat healthy, we need to go to the gym, we need to stop drinking, we need to do this and we need to do that. And this can drive us mad as we don't know where to start. And we try to change too much at the same time and it's just not sustainable. But if we focus on one thing at a time, it allows us to make that particular individual transformation, master that, and then move on to the next step. For example, when I started my weight loss journey 2 years back, goal number 1 was just to master eating healthy. That was the sole purpose and intention. So what I done here was just focus on changing my habits when it came to snacking, changing my habits when it came to eating healthy, and trying to master that. And when I done this and made healthy eating a habit that was just simple to do, I was able to then move on then to the next step, which was then getting into a training routine. And then once the training was nailed down, it was time to move on to the next step, which was getting out to run 2 or 3 times a week. And by breaking these down and focusing on one habit at a time and layering one on top of each other, I was able to integrate these into my lifestyle a lot easier than trying to tackle them all at the one time. So if your goal is weight loss, think about what habit you can master first. And then once you do that, think about the next habit you can master and start layering them on top of each other to make it more seamless and ingrain them into your lifestyle. So the next area I want to focus on is ramping up and ramping down. So building up consistency is very like marathon training. If we go intense and ramp up the mileage too fast, we're either going to burn ourselves out or get injured. Whereas though, if we progress and ramp up over a sustained period of time, we get stronger. We become more resilient to the training workload, and progressively over time we get faster and we get fitter. And this is what I mean about ramping up. We have to start off and then gradually progress over and over time. And I'm not saying we shouldn't have intense training sessions, we absolutely should, but we need to build up to that point. For example, if you never run before and you went out to do 21k or a marathon, you might do it, you might get over the line, but you're probably going to take a week to recover. You're probably going to risk injury. And are you going to build consistency by doing that? Absolutely not. That's why it's essential that you need to ramp up over time to get to that point that you desire. And even when you're knee deep in the training block, you should be ramping up and ramping down your training. Energy management is going to be super important for sustained weight loss and being consistent. And for this reason, you should have variety in your training. You should have your easy sessions and your hard sessions, so you give your body time to recover and adapt. And you also should have your rest days as well. So moving on to the next area, I want to talk about having goals and milestones. And this is super important because when we have a goal, we have a purpose. And when we have a purpose, most likely we're going to have a plan to get there. And when we have a goal, a purpose and a plan, it's a lot easier to be consistent. So for example, my goal is to run a sub 3 hour marathon in the next year. So that gives me a purpose every morning to get out of bed and run and train even if I don't want to. I have a plan in place which allows me to avoid any distractions and get what I need to get done. And with this said, I'm consistent in getting up to train every day because I have to. It's part of the plan. It's what I need to do in order to hit my goal. But with that said, I think we need to be really careful with goal setting. We don't want to set two goals which are too easy to achieve because we're going to achieve them and get bored. But we also don't want to set goals which are too hard to achieve because they're just going to be unrealistic and demotivating. So that's why I mentioned goals and milestones at the start. Our goal should be a long-term plan, maybe 2-3 years down the line, where we should have different milestones leading up to that to keep us motivated, keep us on track towards that goal. So for example, with this sub 3 hour goal, I have different milestones along that pathway. It's a quicker 5k, quicker 10k, quicker half marathon. And once I achieve them milestones, I know I'm on track for that particular goal. So when we set goals and milestones, we need to make sure they are smart. And what this means is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. So to put this into practice, think about the next goal that you want to achieve. Think about the different milestones that you need to achieve in order to make sure you're trending towards that goal. And make sure the goal is specific, so not too ambiguous. You know exactly what you're aiming for. Make sure you can measure the progress, make sure it's realistic and attainable, and also make sure it's time bound as well. So give yourself a period of time of when you need to hit that goal. So now let's move on to the last and most important area of building consistency, and that is discipline. So discipline is essentially really interchangeable with consistency. And to me, discipline is doing what you need to do even if you don't want to do it. And to me, discipline is what separates consistency from intensity, because it's easy at the start when we're all motivated to go train and go to the gym, but that wears off. And it's that discipline that keeps us consistent over and over again. When we go to the gym when we don't want to, that's discipline. When we go running when we don't want to and we have to, that's discipline. And when we build discipline into our lives, consistency is naturally going to follow. How have I built discipline over the past couple of years? So the first thing has been setting pre-agreements or upfront contracts with myself. That if I want to achieve something, whether it be a sub 3 hour marathon, getting promoted in work, there's going to be a certain level or number of actions that I need to take. And no matter what the distractions are, what the external factors are, I need to follow through with them actions. And having this mindset has allowed me to create discipline and then follow through to do stuff even if I don't want to do it. And then the next step is setting this expectation with friends and family. And this makes it much easier to say no to things as they crop up. For example, if I set the expectation with my better half that I need to go out every Sunday morning for a long run in preparation for a marathon, it makes it much easier to say no to things as they crop up, say family events on that particular time on Sunday. And I think when we do this, it makes it a lot easier to stay disciplined as it removes some of the external factors pulling us away from doing what we need to do to achieve our goals. And another key factor to help build discipline is to have a long-term goal mindset. And this helps massively when we have short-term temptations, whether that be snacking, eating healthy, or not training. When we have that long-term goal in our heads, we can make the decision that we can either satisfy the short-term cravings, or we can take one step closer and then follow through with the action to get us closer to a long-term goal. And when we do this, it helps build discipline and consistency. And one way also to build discipline is to have an accountability partner. These will be in our ear when we need to do things even if we don't want to. For example, for running, I have a coach, Ian, who when I don't want to go out running, or when I'm slacking, or when I'm making stupid choices, he's constantly in my ear to get me back on track. And in the moment, it does my absolute head in, but in the long-term process, it keeps me disciplined and it keeps me doing what I need to be doing to be consistent and achieve what I need to achieve. So there you have it. They're my 4 key factors which helps us build consistency in our lifestyles. And to recap, they are focusing on one thing at a time, ramping up and down, having clear goals and milestones, and then building discipline. And I guarantee you, if you ingrain these 4 key factors into your weight transformation or goal transformation or wherever it may be, it's going to be so much easier to build consistency. So I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. Let me know if you did. Please like and subscribe. And in the next video of this series, we're going to talk about building a solid mindset. So that's it for now. Have a good one, and I'll catch you on the next one.